So once somehow the leaders were able to quiet down, they were able to calm down the communal violence that was happening across the country on both sides of the borders. Once that was done by the interim government and they had secured their identity of being secular only, despite what the organizations like the ones that claimed that, we want the Indian government, the interim government, to focus on the interest of Hindus, just like the Pakistani government is focusing on the interest of Muslims. So, when they had calmed down all of these issues, then another problem which was standing right in their face was the integration of princely states. As I had told you, there was the first challenge of accommodating diversity, which we are focusing specifically in this chapter, right? So once those communal violence were sidelined, they were calmed down. Now the issue was to demarcate the boundaries of the country, shape the geography of the country, to know which areas are going to be a part of India, so that they can go to the next step, that is to develop those areas that are coming inside Indian territory. Okay. So, what was the problem that the government faced in terms of the integration of princely states? So, first of all, let's understand what these princely states were. Probably you would be aware that the British India was divided into two things. Okay, there were provinces that the Britishers were directly controlling, like the Madras province, like the Bombay province, and then there were princely states. These princely states were, ruled by their princely rulers, by their princes and their kings. But the twist here was that the Britishers would be the one having greater control over that state, but still, those princes rulers, they will act as the subordinates of the British, and they would take care of that territory while being under British control. Okay, so once Britishers were gone, independence was declared, then this control that Britishers had over these states, it was taken away. So the princes that were earlier working under the British control in those states, they became the main rulers of these princely states. So now the decision was on to them. Okay, there were 565 princely states. So 565 rulers, princes, monarchs, whatever we want to call them, they were given the choice on whether they can choose to join their region, their princely state, with India or with Pakistan, or if they want to, they can remain independent as well. Okay, but the issue here was that this decision on whether they would join any country or remain independent was something that stayed with the rulers of that particular area, not with the people. Okay, that is why India's unity and democracy were at risk. What is democracy actually? It's about involving people, right? So when people are not being consulted, of course democracy would be at risk, and then India's unity would also be at risk, because if many of these princely states are joining Pakistan, or they are choosing to remain independent, then of course India wouldn't be able to become a united nation, would it be? No, right? Then this challenge, it became more evident, it became more severe when the ruler of Travancore was the area which we today call Kerala. Okay, so Travancore's ruler of that time, he said that we want to remain independent. Then again other rulers also joined him. The Nizam of Hyderabad, he also said that we want to stay independent. Then the Nawab of Bhopal, he was also against joining the Constituent Assembly. Constituent Assembly was the assembly where the leaders of the country, they were sitting together to make the constitution for the entire country. So this man, the Nawab of Bhopal, he didn't wanted to join the Constituent Assembly. Why? Because he didn't wanted to do anything with India. He just wanted to remain independent. So if he doesn't wants to join his territory to India, why would he join the Constituent Assembly to frame the constitution, right? Now just imagine if India hadn't been united, the united India that we see today. If you want to, pass from one state to another, then you would require visas. Okay, right now we are able to seamlessly travel from one state to another. For example, if one person wants to travel from Rajasthan to Kerala, of course they can do it. But just imagine if he wasn't convinced to join India, then of course we would never have been able to travel seamlessly to Kerala. Kerala would have acted as a different country for which we would have to have a visa to enter. So this created this kind of a possibility where India would be fragmented into several independent states. Now let's see what was the government's approach regarding how to solve this matter of princely states. Okay, so the interim government, it was very much against fragmentation of India. It was already saddened by the fact that partition and creation of Pakistan has taken place. So they were very reluctant to let any other fragmentation take place. That is why they were very focused on keeping the princely state, on making the princely states become a part of India. So the task of integrating these princely states with India was given to Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, who was the deputy PM and Home Minister of India at that time. He was a very meticulous, very strategic person. So that's why his approach was that we would integrate these princely states mostly through diplomacy and negotiation. Okay, we would talk to their leaders, we will talk to the rulers, we will try to arrive on compromises so that we are able to mutually benefit each other, we are able to ensure the benefit of India, and also the ruler doesn't feel that okay they have to make a bigger compromise. They also feel that yes, their problems and their demands have also been listened to, attended to by the Indian government. So his approach was based on three considerations. First, they would only focus on integrating those princely states with India whose people want to join India, because again they wanted to maintain those democratic standards, right? So they would not consult with the princely states ruler whose people do not want to join India. Okay, then second, if the people want to join India but the ruler doesn't want to, so then they would show flexibility in granting regional autonomy. For example, a ruler chooses to become a part of India, so they will have that sort of a dominance or regional influence in their territory. The Indian government would not completely control that territory. Okay, that is what it means to have regional autonomy. Then the third thing was that the very reason why they were trying to integrate or keep these princely states with India was to preserve territorial unity of India after partition had taken place. After they saw that already the huge chunk of British India has become Pakistan, we cannot compromise on letting these other parts of India, British India, become independent nations. But the issue was that this task was very complex. We can understand this thing from the fact that today's Odisha, it was at that time divided into 26 princely states. So just imagine if those 26 princely states wouldn't have been convinced to join India, would we have been able to see our Odisha today? No, right? In the same way, the Saurashtra region that falls in Gujarat, it was divided into 14 large states and 119 small states. So just think of how difficult that would be as a task to consult these many princely rulers and ask them to join India and give them regional autonomy as well, so that they do not feel that the Indian government hasn't listened to their demands. Fine. Then, after the approach was applied by Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, what was the outcome? Was it positive for us? Was it mostly negative for us? Fortunately for all of us, the Indians, it was mostly positive, because many of the rulers, they were convinced to sign the instrument of accession. When in political terms there are several agreements that the involved parties had to sign. So the involved parties here would be the Indian government and the princely rulers, right? So these princely rulers had signed this document, meaning that they agree to join their princely states with India. So these people were working really hard to manage to have some idea about how India would look like after independence by convincing these areas to join it. Okay. Then the majority of princely states, they had joined India through peaceful negotiation, and Junagadh was one area which is presently a part of Gujarat state right now. So at that time, it had a Nawab who was close to Jinnah. So the Nawab wanted Junagadh to become a part of Pakistan, but because 80% of the population which was living in Junagadh at that time was Hindu population, that's why Junagadh had a plebiscite. So in the plebiscite, the people were given the choice to decide whether they want to stay with India or do they want to go with Pakistan just like their ruler wants to. So most of the people agreed that they want to stay in India. So that's how Junagadh became a part of India despite the rulers, the Nawab's wishes. But there were areas like Hyderabad, Kashmir, and Manipur. They required different approaches for integration. Okay. And now we will turn our page and we will see what kind of special cases were of these areas and how they were made to integrate with India. So the very first case that we have is of Hyderabad. So Hyderabad was the largest princely state of that time, okay? And if we want to know what kind of extent it had at that moment, then we will have to look at the fact that present day areas of Maharashtra, Karnataka, and Andhra Pradesh, they were the ones combined together to make Hyderabad, okay? And its Nizam, its ruler, as you can see in the picture as well, he wanted Hyderabad to remain independent, all right? But in November 1947, he had signed a standstill agreement with India. Why? So that he can postpone that matter. A popular movement against the Nizam's oppressive rule had started by the peasants of the Telangana region. Okay, so the Nizam was oppressive towards farmers, towards women. So what happened was that these people had combined together and they raised a movement against the Nizam. So the women of the region, the peasants of this region, the Hyderabad Congress, members of the Congress who were living in Hyderabad, and the communists, they played a significant role in leading this movement against the Nizam. So when this movement is happening and the Nizam himself is very oppressive, what can we expect from him the very next day is that he would try his best to suppress this kind of a movement. So what he did was he deployed his paramilitary force which he used to call razakars. Okay, so presently, like in 1 or 2 years back only, there has been a movie called Razakars, which had appeared in Bollywood. Okay, so if you want to see it, you can. It is just a suggestion. So coming back to it, so his paramilitary, what it was doing was, it was actually creating more hard time for the people. It was committing atrocities. It was brutally treating people, murdering people. It was looting, raping, and it was spreading what? Communal violence. And mostly they were attacking whom? The non-Muslim population who were living in Hyderabad at that time. Then, when the Indian government got to know about it, that this Nizam is doing all of this towards the people, he is attacking the people of his own area, then they sent Indian military into Hyderabad. This mission was called Operation Polo. Okay, so sometimes what happens is that in your exams, there might be a 1 marker question that you may be asked, and they could ask what Operation Polo was. So you could say that it was the military mission of Indian government in Hyderabad. Okay, so even if your teachers would be telling you and the CBSE would be telling you that everything in the exam is going to come from the NCERT, you will have to prepare for some surprise questions as well. So this could come as a surprise question. It is an element of NCERT, but the NCERT wouldn't mention anywhere that this thing was called Operation Polo. So if you want to get the best of the marks, you will have to prepare for these surprise questions as well. And don't worry, I am here to help you with all those. So after a few days of fighting, the Nizam surrendered because the Indian military was more powerful. So he had to surrender, and then Hyderabad became the part of India. Then let's look at the case of Manipur. Before India had got independent, the Indian government was successful in making Maharaja Bodha Chandra Singh, as you can see him in the picture, sign the instrument of accession. But if he was able to sign the instrument of accession, why are we studying Manipur in the special cases where the Indian government had to apply a different approach? We will get to know about it as we go through different sections of Manipur. Okay, so he had accepted the instrument of accession, but the condition was that Manipur will have its internal autonomy maintained, meaning the ruler will still practice influence in Manipur even though Manipur becomes a part of India. Okay, then, under public pressure, the people were pressurizing the Maharaja to hold elections. So, in June 1948, the elections were held in Manipur, and that is why Manipur became the very first constitutional monarchy. Constitutional monarchy is that kind of a government where you also have a king, a ruler, a monarch, but you also have a constitution. So, he will have to govern his area by following what is written in the constitution. And also, it became the very first part of India where we were following the universal adult franchise to hold elections. Universal adult franchise means that there would be no discrimination regarding what kind of people can contest elections and what kind of people will vote for those people who are contesting the elections. So here, despite you are a woman, despite you are a person who belongs to the scheduled tribes, everybody would have the right to vote. Okay, and as I told you that interim government was existing in India so that this situation can get stabilized before they conduct election. That is why we are saying that Manipur was the first area in India to conduct those elections. All right, are you able to join those dots now? After the elections were held, representatives who formed the Legislative Assembly of Manipur, they came from different political parties. Some of them were from regional Manipur parties, some of them were from Congress party. Okay? So there was a difference of opinion between these two groups regarding whether Manipur should merge with India or should remain more so autonomous. Okay? But here you would be thinking that if Bodhi Chandra Singh has already signed the instrument of accession, why are these political parties debating whether Manipur should join India or not? Well, this is because the merger agreement and the instrument of accession, those were two different documents. Okay, the NCERT hasn't specified it, so I am taking that as my responsibility to clear this doubt of yours. Okay, so instrument of accession meant that you are going to have some a level of regional autonomy, some internal autonomy over your area. Okay, but when you sign the merger agreement, then it means that you will just attain the status of a person who was powerful, who belonged to some royal family, and you will have that respect in your area, but you wouldn't have powers. The governance and the policy making and the administrative power will go directly to the government of India. Okay, so when these differences were taking place, it was regarding how much autonomy Manipur as a state should have. Then eventually in September 1949, through their same tactic of diplomacy and negotiation, the government of India could persuade Maharaja to sign the merger agreement, meaning that he would surrender all his powers to the Indian government, and then Manipur will become an integral part of India, and its defense, its economy, its foreign relation, everything, the home section, all the administration, everything would be taken care of by the Indian government only, not by the Maharaja. Okay, this is what it meant.